In the original Cinderella, the Brothers Grimm version, she was a necromancer, which is metal as fuck. In the Disney version, she has fairy godmother get her the dress. Well, in the Brothers Grimm version, she resurrects her dead mother to get her dead mother's dress. So, do you think my birthday is a coincidence? My birthday is Samhain. It's the day of the ancestors. And I was put here to tell the story of my ancestors and the ones like me. Essentially, there's been this pattern where people that are empaths are usually taken advantage of and either off themselves in this cold situation. And it's so funny because whenever I stopped the timer, it was 111, and that's basically my birthday. It's 11/1. So whenever I previously said that I know things when I need to know them and not whenever I want to know them, what I mean by that is spirit has been hiding things, or I've, my highest self has been blinding myself from certain situations, from seeing certain things at certain times, whether it's to prevent something, to not have me scared, or just to not have me self-sabotage. In this cult situation, kids are groomed, and usually kids with siblings. And typically one sibling, they study the sibling, and whichever one is more malleable, that is the one that becomes the handler per se, basically. Or like almost like Destiny Swapper. And they're groomed to treat the other sibling a certain way. And it kind of starts with some kind of brother, boy, in some capacity, and around the age of 16, give or take, they start feeding him red pill content and make him hate women, become a misogynist. So what happens to the women around him doesn't really care, because women have that sacral creative energy, the womb. And that boy, man, whatever the fuck, will want to siphon that if he's a bad person. And how that's been coming about is that they will groom these individuals. So the network runs pretty deep, as far as they'll pay certain people off, they'll have law enforcement, lawyers, whatever involved, and they'll steal inheritances, they'll forge documents, fake marriages, have insurance policies, and they'll find like the one black sheep, scapegoat, and terrorize them to where they either do what I previously said, as far as, Now, back in 2022, the contract on me had ended, and that's when the car accident happened. And that's when someone showed up online as well. It wasn't a coincidence. It was all perfectly planned. And there's involvement with the family as well. So it's basically a form of human trafficking, and also basically a form of sacrifice. And sometimes whenever they have these targeted individuals and they go after their friends, they will either push their friends out of certain places, or they will trap the friends, if that makes sense. And that's where some of the recruiting comes in, where they'll place certain people in certain places around this certain individual, and they isolate and target. And when they go through so much emotional terrorism and then they're isolated like that, usually the end goal is for them to, if they didn't succeed with other stuff. So then they put them in places like this with the perfectly curated mold issue, which now in my bathroom, you can see it even more. And honestly, I'm just gonna show you guys. Oop, okay.
So you can see where they painted over it and it's coming up.
And like I said, this place has the perfect conditions. I wouldn't have been able to prove it without the home inspection, which was why I was financially targeted. So all the dots are connecting, right? And I've said in a previous video that black mold mimics a TBI. So your decision process, your mood, it affects it, which is why they would put someone like me in a place like this. And like I said, also in another previous video, I am incredibly good at pattern recognition. I think that's partially why I'm such a good dancer, because my pattern recognition is just that on point that I can usually just somehow internally just know the beat for the most part, be able to match it up even if I've never heard the song. Well, I can connect dots with generations as well, like in my family. Typically, you would target someone, especially in the previous generations, target them, a woman, get her pregnant young. Then do all this stuff to her, emotionally terrorize her, so she's not able to heal her shadow. And if she has a son, the son moves in with the father around that age of 16, and then he gets groomed. Now, sometimes there will be family members in different sectors of whether it's law enforcement or the justice system somehow, some capacity. And a lot of people can be bought. And when there's that many people up against one individual, it almost seems helpless. Or they can paint that individual as if they're crazy, because it does sound crazy to be stalked, to be treated like that, where it's not necessarily in the open, where it's hard to prove. So with the stuff that my ex did to me, it was really hard to prove any of that. I don't have any of the same friends really that I had during that situation. Because the things he was doing, it was to emotionally terrorize me, like fucking with the water or moving my things. Like he would move my things so I would distrust myself, stuff like that. The water stuff, it was very hard for people to understand how I knew he was even doing it, and then I found that screwdriver. But I would check the appliances, because when I found the screwdriver, I took all the screwdrivers in the house and I hid them. And I started carrying my shit with me after I realized he was stealing my money and shit. But he didn't realize I had stopped smoking weed and doing drugs and shit, and had gotten my mind clean and had been getting closer with spirit, which was the whole plan from the start with spirit and my highest self. I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because this is at 9 minutes.